Okay, go.
Hi, I'm Matt Comic Guy. And this is this iceberg theme. This time being Superman. Let's start with the entry. Superman was not originally can fly. Yes, surprised many of you. Originally, Superman can leap tall buildings, but he did not have a fly until a bit later. An unfortunate excuse for a video game adaptation for one of the on-screen appearance of Superman. There was a show called Superman the Animated Series, and pretty much was the best part about Superman. Fortunately, it got a video game adaptation of Superman 64, flying through green rings and broken controls. Frank Miller's Superman. Yeah, this one's very easily explained. This is Superman from Frank Miller's comics. His Dark Knight books and Superman Year One. And All-Star Batman and Robin. And also, in fact, this Superman in the first Dark Knight book, he actually has a reasonable way for certain things, but the others, nah. What happened to the Man of Tomorrow and its crazy idea for Lex Luthor and Brainiac? What happened to the Man of Tomorrow? It's a story where one of the stories involved a character that was combination of Lex Luthor and Brainiac combining together. An idea that was done again. Superman Lives, a cancelled movie. Superman Lives was a strange idea for a film. I mean, they even planned to have Nicolas Cage as Superman, and facing against giant spiders and have ideas of polar bears. Yes, that's strange. Superman and different colors of kryptonite. So Superman's weakness is kryptonite. It's all been known already. However, Superman has different kryptonite. Red, gold, blue, platinum, red. Whoa. It used to have different effects on him, but now it either makes him evil or angry. Blue is one for Bizarro. Gold permanently removes the powers of Kryptonians. And platinum gives any normal being Kryptonian powers. Superman as a Green Lantern. Yes, Superman in one story was a Green Lantern. Very interesting, yes. Injustice Superman. Injustice Superman is an evil Superman of a what-if story. What if Joker set up a bomb to blow up Metropolis and cause Superman to lose control of himself? This was a very interesting story, and just a what if, not really what would happen to Superman. Marvel's answer to Superman. Century. Marvel's answer to Superman. Basically an actual way in how to be a Superman, but slightly different. Century has a thing called the Void, which he can turn himself into. Superman, Earth-free Superman. Earth-free Superman refers to a Superman from the crime syndicate. Unlike the usual Superman, this one is a slightly different character. Ooh, All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman, unlike All-Star Batman and Robin, is for its own universe and actually is an interesting story. The man who has everything. The man who has everything focuses on a thing that Mongol put on Superman and tries to imagine what it would look like if his home, Krypton, was not destroyed. It was adapted in one of the Justice League animated shows and has been famous since. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. There was a series of comics called Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen is Superman's friend, and it's a very interesting idea that this is a comic series I want to use in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. Superman the first major movie. So Superman's first ever film that was actually filmed that was major was Superman and the Mole Man. George Reed as Superman starred in it, and it spawned up to a TV series called The Adventures of Superman. Superman's debut on screen. Superman's debut on screen was in a 40s animated thing called from Flashster Studios, who were known for making Popeye at the time and wanted to create their own version of Superman. Mr. Mix's Pillowick. Mr. Mix's Pillowick is actually a fifth dimensional being. If you say his name backwards, he will be defeated. Clark Kent's changed into Superman in a phone booth. Clark Kent in earlier stories used to change in the phone booth. He doesn't anymore, but he doesn't do that nowadays when he turns into Clark Kent and Superman. Black Lantern Superman. There's actually been a story called Blackest Night, where the Superman of Earth 2 was revived as a Black Lantern. Very interesting, yes. Superboy Prime. Superboy Prime is a what-if Superman. A Superman of our real world. Basically another evil Superman. Cyborg Superman. Cyborg Superman is basically Superman but a machine. He's basically someone who just wants Superman's villains, and he's very interesting idea. Superman and Legion of Superheroes. This is a show that aired, and it's actually an interesting show, and I do highly recommend it though. Superman for all seasons. This was a comic book run of explaining the origin of Superman. It was called Superman for All Seasons. Smallville. Smallville was also the name of the TV show, but also the name of the place later on they use in the comics to explain about his origin. Lana Lane. Lana Lane is actually one of Superman's crushes before Lois. And that's pretty much surprising. Superman racing against the Flash. Superman in certain cases has gone to a race against the Flash. Certain many occasions. The idea behind Batman versus Superman. The idea of Batman fighting Superman is simple. Batman is a non-powerful being with a gadget, and Superman is a powerful being that's from Krypton. The Man of Steel series. The Man of Steel comic series is a series that was short-lived after they reboot DC Comics post-Crisis on Infinite Earths. Superboy from Earth 1. Originally, this was a younger version of Superman, but from his Earth 1 self. This was an interesting idea. Superboy, the clone of Superman. This is pretty much the Superboy that you're all familiar with. First villain he faced against was King Shark. Yeah, really. Young Justice. Young Justice was referring to a series of comics that explain about certain things about Superman. Obviously, it aired for a few seasons, and Superman does appear. Truth and Justice in the American Way. For Truth and Justice in the American Way was a phrase that Superman used to say. Not anymore, now it's Truth and Justice and Better Tomorrow. What's so funny about Truth and Justice? What's so funny about Truth and Justice is pretty much part of a Superman story that's on the cover. And it's interesting, you have to notice this. Superman film serials. The Superman film serials comprise of some ones are called Superman and Superman and the Anime. First on-screen appearance of Lex Luthor, by the way. Explanation of Lex Luthor's baldness. Lex Luthor, originally in the comics, had hair. However, years go by and he's gone bald. And there's other explanations in the comics. Superman and the Superboy TV series. There was this TV series called Superboy before he was Superman. And it was very, very, very much surprising to know about this. Lex Luthor as an Orange Lantern. Yes, Lex Luthor, funnily enough, had one story where he was wearing an Orange Lantern ring. Pretty surprising. Superman of a story of Emperor Joker. Superman, pretty much a Joker storyline where Joker became like an emperor, but pretty much did certain things where Batman had died and came back repeatedly over and over again after getting Mr. Mix's Pill X powers. However, Superman came in and had to fix all of this and make sure Batman calmed down of all that situation. Superman's new logo in this new movie. His logo in this new movie, yes, it looks kind of odd, but it's still supposed to be his logo. The previous and first Supergirl movie. Yeah, Supergirl is gonna get a new movie, but before that, we already had one, which was spun off of the Christopher Reeves movies. Awkward, and not the best use of an adaptation by many people. Superman, and the moment in the Christopher Reeves movie where he went back in time, Superman somehow went around the world. In the end of the Christopher Reeves movie, where he ran around the world and actually went back in time. Superman 2 Richard Donner cut. This was an actual cut of Superman 2. And it was Richard Donner's vision of Superman 2. Zack Snyder Justice League cut. This was also a cut of a movie that was in Justice League film. When he finally came back to do this director's cut, it was seen as an improvement. CGI mustache. It refers to the Justice League movie and how Henry Cavill refused to shave his mustache because he was finishing another movie. So they had to CGI his mustache, which was a big mistake to do. Very big mistake to do. A combination of Spider-Man and Superboy. This was a result of the Amalgam Universe once again making combinations of certain DC and Marvel characters. This time, a combination of Spider-Man and Superboy. So in this comic, there's also other combinations. Pretty wild things of the Amalgam Universe. Superman face against Spider-Man. Superman has crossed over with Spider-Man before. And it's interesting now as it's interesting back then. And finally, Superman Flyby, another cancelled movie. This was an attempt to make another next movie of Superman, but it changed to Superman Returns. And finally, one of the Adams from the Arrowverse was played twice did twice of Superman. In the Arrowverse, the Atom was played by Brandon Routh. In Superman Returns, he played Superman. In the Crisis event of the Arrowverse, he played another Superman. Very interesting. I'm a Comic Guy. See you in the next video. Bye.